I just got off the phone with an investor who lost a $500,000 seller finance deal. The seller offered 5% interest and he walked away because he wanted 3%. Here's what kills me. I would have taken that deal immediately. Because while everyone's obsessed with interest rate, there are actually 5 terms that you can negotiate in seller financing. That's why I love it. An interest rate, it's only one piece of the pie. Today, I'm breaking down all 5 terms and showing you exactly which ones to prioritize based on what the seller actually cares about. Because if you're only negotiating interest rate, you're missing out on tons of deals. By the way, guys, this video is completely free for you. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. I promise I'll continue to deliver massive value. In traditional financing, you negotiate one thing: purchase price. The bank controls everything else. Interest rate set by the bank. Down payment set by the bank. Terms set by the bank, right? With seller financing, you control all 5 terms, and here's the framework. Purchase price, down payment, interest rate, amortization, balloon payment. If you don't know what amortization is, we are going to dive into that, I promise you. The secret is this: find out what the seller cares about most, give them that, then optimize the other 4 terms for yourself. But term number 1, purchase price. Here's what you need to understand. Many sellers are emotional about their asking price. They want to tell their friends, I got full price, and they thought they were going to get that price, so they want it. There was a property listed at $535,000. The market value was probably $520,000. The seller wouldn't budge on that number. So I said, I will give you $535,000 if we can work on the other terms. They said yes immediately. I gave them their price, but I got 12% down instead of 25% down. I got 3.5% interest rate instead of 6.5% interest rate, all because I didn't go through the bank. The seller was my bank. But don't overpay by more than 10% of market value. Your refinance will be much harder when that balloon comes. Give them their price, but only if you can win on the other terms. Which brings us to term number 2. Term number 2 is the down payment. Banks require 20 to 25% down on investment properties. With seller financing, I've done deals with as little as 3% down. It's completely up to you and the seller. That's $15,000 on a $500,000 property instead of $125,000. Think about what that does to your cash on cash return and many more deals that you can do. Now, sellers worry. What if you stop paying? Here's exactly what I say. If I default, you get the property back and you keep my down payment. That's actually best case scenario for you. On my triplex that I bought in 2024, I put $85,000 down, which was 12% down on a $685,000 property. The sweet spot where the seller felt secure and I could cash flow $1,200 per month, which is now like $1,500 a month. To trade, if they need a higher down payment, negotiate for a lower interest rate or a longer balloon. Now, here's where this gets interesting. In today's market, if you were to buy any rental property in an expensive state through the bank like Utah, you would be losing money every single month, and it has to do with the interest rate. Term number 3 is interest rate. Everyone focuses here. I've gotten rates as low as 3% when banks were offering 7%. But here's what most people miss. You need to know your end numbers that you need to hit, and interest rate is just one of the 5 levers. That can be so crucial when you're working with this. How I describe it to my sellers is, hey, I don't have any emotion toward this. I'm not going to live in this property. The numbers have to work for me to want to buy it. And how it works for me is I have an equation, a cash on cash metric or a return on investment metric that I need to hit for this to make sense. An interest rate is something that I can push and pull. I would love to give you your purchase price, but in return, I need to get some of these terms for it to make sense for me. So let me reiterate, you need to lose the emotion when you are looking through deals like this. So now that we're moving on from that, once you know the end numbers, you know exactly where you need to be on interest rate. So you know you either need to fight for a certain rate or you can use your interest rate wiggle room to negotiate, right? Now, if the interest rate isn't working, the deal isn't dead. The next term is one that separates beginners from someone that really is good at this. Because if you get this wrong, you could have an amazing price, down payment, and interest rate and still lose money. Let me explain. This is what we call amortization. Amortization is simply the ratio of principal versus interest that you're making to the bank or the seller, right? So let's dive into it. Term number 4 is amortization. This is the most overlooked term and it's incredibly powerful. You have literally unlimited options. Okay, so let's pause there and I am going to explain the bank side of amortization and what we can do in the seller finance space. So 90% plus of bank loans that you're gonna go and get are on what we call a 30-year amortization schedule. And on a 30-year amortization schedule, the bank is fully aware that you are not going to have that loan for 30 years. So what they do is they front load the interest. So your first 5 years or so, you're gonna be paying large majority of interest. The bank wants all their interest, and then when you refinance or when you sell, guess what? You restart again. So that's how the banks perceive amortization. Now, when I'm negotiating a seller finance deal, I get to completely ignore how the bank does things, and I get to choose exactly what I want to do in my principal to interest ratio. There are many deals that we do copy the bank's 30-year amortization schedule, and there are a lot of deals that we go only interest payments, and then there's some deals that we make only principal payments, and guess what? There's some deals that we mix the two, where at the beginning we were paying 50% principal to interest. There is absolutely no rules when it comes to this in seller financing, and that's why I absolutely love it. So in the interest rate portion, if I'm going interest only, this means that I want more cash flow up front. I want to make my deal make more sense from the very beginning. And if I want principal only, a lot of cases here is that I'm usually on a short balloon and I want to pay that principal down faster so that my refinance is easier. Okay, so let's dive into it. For example, I bought a triplex for $685,000 and I negotiated a 4.5% interest only rate and my monthly payment was $2,250. If I did a 30-year amortization, my payment would literally be $3,400. So that extra $1,150 per month is the difference between the deal working or not. Okay, so now let's look at a principal only example. This client, this seller needed a 3-year balloon and they needed $3,000 a month. That's too expensive and too short of a balloon. So I tell them, I will do this 3-year balloon and $3,000 a month if it's principal only. So after 3 years, I will pay down the $540,000 balance all the way down to $432,000. which makes my refinance much easier. All right, this last term, this is the one that can make or break your entire deal. I've seen investors literally lose their properties because they didn't negotiate this correctly. Pay close attention. Term number 5 is balloon payment. This is your refinance deadline, when you have to pay off the remaining balance, whether you refinance or sell, right? Now here's the risk. A short balloon plus no appreciation equals a really hard refinance. That's how you lose properties. Here's my rule. Bare minimum 5 years, but I prefer 7 to 10 years. More time for appreciation, for rent increases, principal pay down, much less stress. All right, so now let's say that the sellers want their money sooner. Here's what I would say. What if we do a 7-year balloon, but I give you a higher interest rate? Or what if I do principal only payments so you get your equity back faster? And after 4 years, I'll have paid down $144,000. This makes my refinance way easier. And why does it make it easier? Let me remind you. Banks loan their money off of a loan to value. The more equity you have, the easier it is for them to give you a loan. Here's how to use these together. You find out what the seller cares about most, you give them that, and then you optimize the other 4. Sometimes you need to push and pull a couple different levers, and that's just how it goes. Scenario number 1, the seller wants $460,000 and the market value is about $445,000. They care about their price and they keep hammering that in. So my offer after negotiations, $460,000 purchase, $50K down, 3.5% interest only on a 10-year balloon. They got their price, they're happy with that. Now I get some of my terms. I got low interest rate, interest only for cash flow, and a longer balloon for my safety. Now, scenario number 2, the seller wants 4.5% interest to match their savings account. This is common. My offer, I'm giving them market value, 12% down, 4.5% interest only, on a 7-year balloon. So they got their return, I got interest only, so my cash flow still works despite a higher interest rate, you're not gonna win every term. You're finding what they value most and you're creating a win-win scenario. Listen, once you master these 5 terms, everything changes. You'll see opportunities everywhere that other investors are genuinely missing. You'll walk into seller conversations with confidence because you're not just asking for a super low purchase price or a super low interest rate. You're solving their actual problems. You'll close deals that other investors walk away from. You'll build a portfolio faster because you can make more deals work, and you'll cash flow better because you're optimizing all 5 terms, not just one. Listen, this is the framework: purchase price, down payment, interest rate, amortization, balloon payment. Get really good at these and I promise you'll get more deals. Thank you for watching.